No idea how this works. But I started doing some prep and thought it'd be a good thing to show. It's 100 down. I literally only buy the CCIs because they all come out facing in one direction. Some of the ones like the Federals do this stupid shit. Why? Why? It's a tedious task. They make a tool for this, Dylan does. That automatically fills up your primer tube. But there's a limit to how much convenience I'm willing to pay for. That one looked like it flipped on me. That's 3. This in the garbage. Okay. That's all I need for this view. Let me just switch something over here so I can see what I'm looking at. Alright. couple like pre-primed cases from either a previous session or something along those lines. I'm not going to use this to load, but I am going to test my powder with it. See how much we're pulling here. So there should be, looking for 26 grains, but I had to adjust this a lot for a different type of powder. I was testing some stuff this weekend. Had a couple trying to get some more accurate rounds. Let's see how we get there. I like to run this through twice just to make sure I'm getting the right charge and I'm not chasing it around. This is a little bit of a hotter round. I'm not gonna lie. We're running 26 grains of H335. Different from what you might see factory posts. But I make sure that my brass isn't showing any pressure signs. It does okay at 26. If I push any faster than that, it gives me trouble. So I had 25.9 grains in there, and I've ran 26 grains. I'm getting 51.9, which is correct. I like to do a couple charges on top of each other because the Dillon powder measure doesn't perfectly measure this stuff out. Zero. Sometimes it'll throw like 0.1 above or 0.1 below, depending on the powder. H335 does pretty well through it. But some powders you can vary by quite a lot. You can see that should have hit 26. Should did. Another one through. See, it's like between 25.9, like 5, and 26. So I lost a 0.1 of a grain, but it keeps teetering back and forth. And there's 52. That's why I like, I'll run one more and see what we get. Should get 78. Right on the nose. Good. So we're good to run. Try not to reach in front of the camera too much. Case feeder over here, bullet feeder over here. Makes things easy. Half the reason why people don't like reloading is because it takes a lot of patience and effort. And when you automate certain things like a case feeder or a bullet feeder here, makes your job just easier. Less likely to make mistakes or pinch your finger. Hopefully it'll run right because my machine's a bit dirty right now. No. What else if I had primers in there? Hey, the guy on Reddit told me I'd fuck it up, and I did. So for lubing my cases, what I'll do is I have a box. Pull it out here so you can see it. I have a plastic box I just load these up with, and I got some Dylan case lube. This shit is really fucking good. I know people love to make their own stuff and spray it all over. This is like an alcohol-based lubricant. You spray it on, the alcohol evaporates off, the lube stays, and this will stay lubed up for... I fill the bottom of one of these, spray it all around, and then throw it on my hopper, and I think that does about 200 rounds. And that does pretty good. It'll stay, I don't get any stuck cases with the Dylan case lube. I used to use, it was like 7 or 8 years ago. I used to use like Cabela's brand lube, and it was not good. Not good. I got stuck cases all the time. 4, 5, 6. Alright, this one should be live. Yep. Primer. So if we catch a bullet here, this thing's tricky sometimes. There we go. That one felt a little loose. Good. A little tight on that primer going in. If you mash your primers in, you're not supposed to, but it'll still work. Sometimes it can, depending on the primer system you have, it will could blow your whole entire tube up. Just make sure it should be about 2.50. That's good enough for me. 262 is the max for a 223 bullet. The reason why it's 262 is because the distance from there to there is 2.262 inches. Or 260. I don't know why I'm saying 262. 260. My press isn't very stable, so it looks like the wobble off. I'm going to move soon, and hoping to have a little better bench when I get to the new place. I've had this one since I started, actually 10 years ago. Take my time trying to win any erase this today. What the fuck happened there? No. This thing. It takes like perfect timing for this to work. See, I have this screwed out so that I can adjust it every tiny bit. It seems to need a constant adjusting. This thing's gonna make a fucking mess. Let me try this. Sometimes if I do this. Yeah, there we go. I think what happens, I cut the... There's like a metal tube or spring that allows the bullets to travel through in the bullet feeder, and I think I cut it too short when I got it. So it holds it up. Loose. Good. Half the reason why I bought a 650 is because of the primer system that it uses. That did not work. We got a problem here. So I don't have a stage 1, in case some of you are freaking out. Stage 1 is usually size D prime, but for rifle, we don't do that here. We got a problem here. Fantastic. Just through so I don't fuck this up. Rubber band or something and tie that down. I didn't feel like anything went in. He's a little loose. make this just easier. And messier, apparently. You used to have to hold the bullet in place here, and a few times I've pinched my finger right in that. Cut it wide open, and then you can't reload for like a day. Band-aid over your index finger. Can't hold the bullet. Anybody have any questions? Anything about reloading, guns, competition shooting? What am I doing? Why reload? Is that reloading really cheaper? It is. Grab some water, I'll be right back. Talk about why you might want to spend some time to reload. Well, you can see this, but these are different velocities that some of my different rounds are getting. This is my old stuff. Pushing 2,400 feet per second out of a 10.3 inch barrel. That's way too slow. If you compare it to a commercial, 2,700 feet per second. So 25.5 grains of H335 only gets me about 2,500. If I punch that up to 26 grains, I'm getting about 2,600 feet per second out of H335. Still a little bit slow. This weekend I was able to work up to 2,800 feet per second. Much better. That's with Ramshot Tack. Now, I wasn't real happy with the accuracy out of that one. Because it really wasn't doing much of what I'm doing right now. So this right here is only a 50-yard target. And this is with about 25 grains of H.335. But none of my H.335 loads are printing very accurate. Unless I kick up the bullet weight. That one's not too bad. So different combos of different bullets and powder will get you different velocities and accuracy. Naturally, a heavier bullet's going to go slower. Yeah, so here's the 27 grains of tack. Great for 50 yards. And I know that my gun's more than capable of it, because this is some 77 grain Sierra Match Kings with Varget, and that's the group I'm getting out of that. So that was one group, and then I moved my Zero over, and that was the second one. And a flyer. We don't count flyers here. So you can pretty much make a custom load for whatever gun you got. Primer didn't make it in there. Give me a weird feeling. Time for some primers. On the rounds down, I'm really taking my time. This goes a lot faster if I wasn't, but no need to go fast today. Let's get some more powder in there while we're at it. Yellow powder measure holds about 250 rounds of powder for 223. Holds about 1,000 rounds for a 9mm. shows a little bit of a creep. I think it's my press isn't aligned correctly. I'll take it in the down. It hasn't really been serviced in 5 years. Missed one. I was really nervous about my primers not getting in there. I check them all when they're all done, so I won't miss it, but rather not have the powder spewing all over my press and desk if I can help it. Make these little things that go into this part of the press. I keep things from jostling around. Even set aside the time or the money to do it. Three is pretty easy to catch mistakes on. And what's going on here? I'm in a mess. Hang on. Turn that guy off. And when you're finished loading a round of 223, there's usually a little bit of case volume left over, so you can shake it and hear the powder inside. For 9mm, you can't do that. At least not any of the ones that I load. And I've used a few different powders. Usually don't venture out for 9mm very much because there's not really much point. Not really looking for accuracy. On 9, just looking for reliability. probably stay. Is this upside down? Tight in there. You have crimped primer pockets. That'll do that to you. Seems like no matter how you swedge them, you'll get something that's a little screwy. And that one just slipped right in. Easy to stay organized with a press like this. Back when I had a 550, you can make all kinds of mistakes. I think these are another progressive press. You have to remember to put a case in, put a bullet in, run the handle down, run it back, and you can see how this handle conveniently moves everything over. On a 550, you have to manually do that, which is fine and probably good if you're a beginner, so that you really pay attention. Because if you don't pay attention, you mess some stuff up. $650s. I think they do a $750 now. Auto indexing is worth the money, in my opinion. Saves you a lot of time. See, it's just breezing by, and there's not a whole lot of effort I have to put into it. It's just going. some new primers. It's 200 rounds down. Last time it broke away, I filled up the entire reservoir, and that's what I got left. So, holds about 200. Relaxing to do. Take your mind off things. Focus on one thing. Deal with all the shit that's going on now. Check everything. Pretty well. Nothing too screwed up so far. When I used to run my 550, I probably have something like at least a 1 to 2% error rate. Something would come back just completely unusable. About 1 to 2% of the time. Match coming up Saturday. First time my girlfriend Melissa will be in a rifle match. She did rifle only not long ago. At Rio. We had the Red Mountain rifle match. Just rifle. Nothing beyond 60 yards. She crushed it. Some of the guys there weren't taking the skill shots at 60 yards, but she hit it every time. Very proud of her. This one will be a little bit more difficult though. You run targets out to 200 and you gotta typically do that in some awkward position. Not really. No. So to answer your question, Tom, I would like to get a better bench. I'm going to be moving soon. So I'll build a better bench that doesn't flex like this one. This one's got so much use on it. I'll see if I can show you here. When I run this down, the plywood's cracked. So I'll just build something more sturdier. It does cause an issue with the case feeder. And if you are really slamming through prepping brass, sometimes the brass will come down upside down or won't make it into the tube. I've always just dealt with it because this is cheap. And it's worked till now. Really bothered to do much about it. But it doesn't affect anything like the powder, the bullets coming down, or anything else. These are all collected cases. This is a mixed just from different competitions that I've shot. I'm usually the brass whore. See if I can show you some of what I got here, Turbo. Phone's connected to this. So whatever is off the top of that, that's what I've got prepped right now. And then this is some more I've got. Stuff over time. What do you mean by re-index? Oh yeah, so let's see if I could find. So when I case prep, I cut them all down to 1.75 inches. Let's see what this one's reading. Oh, that one will clear. We'll get one here for sure. That one's 1.75. 1.75 is like the standard. I'm using a Dillon 650 right now. Okay, so this one would catch at 1.753. And what I do, and again, with reloading, a lot of it is how much money you spend will save you a bunch of time. So I have a case trimmer. It's an automatic case trimmer. So I slam this guy in. Shell comes up into here. This guy trims it to length. 1.75. If you got it down to 0.750, you'd be way too short. Be an inch short. And you want a 1.750 for the case length, and I'm running these at a that wasn't zeroed. 2.25, a little bit longer. I was playing with some different projectiles. That'll work. Tom, do you have a press yet, or are you looking at getting one? Just needs some more powder. Turbo, I probably have, I would say the press with the case feeder is about I think it was like 700 or something like that. And then with the add-ons, there's probably about 1,500 to 2,000 in equipment here. Probably. But that's all over time. I've been doing this for 10 years. So I started on an old rock chucker. Just a single stage press, and I reloaded 30-06. I still have my old dies for 30-06. Yeah, so this does powder. See if I can show it to you. Up here, that's the powder. So when I crank down, this comes up. That slides out. And as I come back down, this guy right here comes back. And there's a tiny hole in here that measures out the powder to exactly where you need it to. Here's a charge bar. So the powder drops into here, and as this slides, powder drops into the case and slides back. Yeah, I know that they changed. They're doing like the 750s now. I'm not sure what the 800 is. So I know Dylan was having issues with the 750 and the bullet feeder with the way that it went in. It would rub up against the powder measure and not feed the bullets right. So, I don't know how they didn't test their machine with that. A lot of people, sounds like I'm out up there. A whole lot left here. Forget where it was. Thank you. Like I said, this is a lot of time. A lot of time gathering this stuff and learning what works well. Yeah, Tom, so most of your progressive presses will have an automatic priming system. That's this guy right here. So I slip the primers into here and they fall down, they come down to here, and then so I'll run one through here. Okay, so see, no primer, and there is a, I can't really see it that well because of the focus, but when I slip that guy in and I push down on this, that seats the primer. Turbo, I'm glad you asked that question. So actually most manufacturers now, like Hodgdon, who makes, oh, and Ramshot. Hodgdon and Ramshot actually have publicly listed data on their websites, so you can find out like what loads you sort of want to come up with and work out. When I first started reloading, I just found a formula that was 25 grains of H335, which is why I keep using H335, but 25 grains of H335, and that worked in my rifle. It just did fine. But the problem is, in my 10.3 inch barrel, I'm only getting 2,400 feet per second out of it. So what I've done is I will load like either different grains or different types. So I'll slowly creep that up. It's called working up a load. And you basically take the speed measurement and the accuracy to see what works best for your rifle. Half the reason why you would reload. Yeah, that's exactly where I go, Tom. You know, I might just switch that out for you. We can see how long it takes to time me. So I'm about done here. My primers are running low. It also depends on a few factors, Tom. So if you're running small primers, you don't have to change the primer system over. That's really helpful. If you shoot like 223 and 45 ACP, you have to swap the primers over to a different size. I'm actually going to shut this case feeder off right now because I'm about out. So if you have to change your case feed system, not your case feed, well, yeah, your case feed, I guess, and your primer system, that will cost you a lot of time. I felt that one going. I've done it. If you could see that, but I flattened that guy out. And it's going to need to get ran back through. We are out of primers. I think almost out of cases. Let's see what questions we got here. My buddy does 300 Win Mag and whatnot, so he has to do it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you should. I used to not do my own data before. Somebody in here doesn't have a primer in it. I used to not do my own data, but when I got a chronograph and actually spent some time, I've been working on that more in the last couple of years. I've gotten much better performance. Tom, do you weigh or otherwise spot check any of your cartridges, or do they usually not require it? I don't weigh the brass cases themselves. I do weigh how much powder goes into it. And let me tell you what, one of the most helpful things you can buy as a reloader is you're only good as what your measuring equipment is. So spend some good money on your measuring equipment. So definitely get a good scale, good calipers. Last one too. That's it. Somebody doesn't have a primer. There's powder everywhere. Let's see here. I'm trying to find. I've been running real low on boxes lately. I'm just going to set this stuff aside here. Just let me show you what it takes to swap this out. to make sure you spend some time and get all that powder out of there. And definitely do this every time when you load anything. Because one day you're going to end up just having a ton of powder in there, mystery powder. Either have to throw a whole thing of powder out or risk blowing yourself out. Alright, so that's out. Remember which key this is. Stay organized. I gotta buy one of those. I never thought it was worth spending the money on the Dylan tools, but it is. Okay, that screw holds this screw in place. So run that up. Take that out. I'm not going to do the entire thing right now because it is kind of a pain to do this side, but you would swap out this plate, pop in a 9mm plate or whatever plate that you need. Pop that guy back in. See how we're doing here. So depending on how tight you crank this down, sometimes your shell plate, this is your shell plate, sometimes that will get too tight, it won't move. It's a little bit tight. If you have it too loose, everything wobbles around. That runs good. So now I'm going to check everything, make sure it all looks right. Slide that guy in, run it over, shake it, make sure there's powder in it. Good to go. Better view of this. the side. Here's one without a primer. That's the one I was bitching about. Goes back there. Sometimes you can weigh these. Well, rifle stuff you can usually weigh. I'll show you what I do for that. So if I take a projectile and a case, they weigh 148.2. In that range, give or take. So 148.2. If I put a fully loaded round in there, I want to make sure that weighs at least 20 grains more. And that's what we got there. I do that for my compressed loads. Oh, I'm getting that. That's the second one that's done that. The Gila, let's see what this one is. FC, not a correlation. Checking these, making sure they all fit. They all have powder in them. They all got primers. Primers aren't sticking out too far. Yes, I put everything through case gauge, huh? Even my 9mm stuff. I'm sure some of the ones that I've pulled so far will work, but if it doesn't, that'll either cost me some time in a match. Some of these actually will go into a magazine that I might use for home defense, so I want to make sure everything works. If it doesn't work, or if it doesn't go through the case gauge right, I'll set it aside and maybe I'll shoot those at a time when someone's either trying out my rifle for fun or something like that. Nothing serious. Easy enough to do. This stuff's all commercial brass. I have a bunch of Lake City stuff that I'm waiting on building up a little bit and testing some different stuff out with that. If I'm really slamming them through, I could probably get well, I don't ever really slam them through, so probably about 500 rounds an hour, I would say. Do you reload currently, Tom, or are you just looking at getting into it? Take off these safety glasses, I don't need them anymore. That's cool. Reload with a single stage. I do, so sometimes I actually manually reload with this, with the 650, instead of using the powder measure. So I'll prime everything, charge everything with powder. I have to do that with Varget because the type of powder that Varget is. It doesn't run through a Dylan powder measure very well at all, not very accurate. And for that stuff, I'm looking for really accurate boats. So all I do is so I got the charged cases, and instead of running them through the case feeder, I'll just manually feed them through this guy right here. You can see that. I just clip it right in and go. See, that one's a problem. Let's see. That's just a matter of when I go through and size and deprime and that process. I've been having trouble with my brass prep most recently. What do you reload, Tom? No, I have a special case head for that, or not a case head, but tool head for that. I'll show you since I've got everything off right now. This guy slides right in. So stage 1 there. That will deprime. Stage 2 is empty. Stage 3 trims and sizes. And then stage 4 is empty. Stage 5, I have a neck resizer on that one because the Dylan likes to do weird stuff to the case mounts. Right on, Tom. Do you do any subsonic for your 300 black or what? You only do subs, huh? Yeah, thanks for hanging around, man. Repetitive process, but works for me. Slam a couple of these into some stripper clips. Makes it easy to reload your mags when you're on the range, rather than popping these in one at a time when you're out there. Just slam a few of these down a couple seconds and you're good to go. Anything that falls out, falls down to the ground, a couple of them have. Put them through the process again. So they'll have to go through case feeder, into here, and into here. If it comes out of here, goes into the gun, or comes out of a magazine. As long as it comes out, I mean, if it comes out of a magazine, I'm okay with reusing it again. As long as I pull it from that magazine. This way I know anything that's on a stripper clip is good to go. fouled up with lead and shit. Losing everything. These tabs will come loose over time. I don't know if you can see that little brass tab at the top there. So what they'll do is I mean, you can only bend metal so much, right? They'll break off and then you can't use them anymore. So I try to pick the one that's already been moved out of the way to try to keep these going as long as I can. They're cheap. You have a bunch of them loaded up. You slip in these little cardboard boxes. Stay nice and organized for you. Like that over the standard boxes, like these. This is all stuff I shot this weekend, different test loads, making sure that the brass isn't. See if I can focus it. No pressure signs. So over here we started to get some pressure signs. That was 26 grains of tack on a 62 grain bullet. A lot. A lot of powder for a 62 grain bullet. Especially since a 55 takes 27. And if I recall correctly, that is Western Powder's publicly listed 5.56 load data on the higher end of the pressure scale. I think there was like 63,000 psi. Usually watch TV or something while I do this. It's getting loose. Lifespan on this clip is limited. Anybody else use stripper clips? I know some rounds come with them, or some like some stuff from Federal will come from the factory like this. Might do the rest of these off camera, unless anyone has any questions. Got wrapped up. A couple more cartons to go. I think that'll do it. Good hanging out with you guys. Maybe I'll do it again another time. Take it easy.